And we're back here at 8:07 a.m. And as promised, in the house with us this morning is President of Texas Tech University, Dr. Lawrence Schovanec. Good morning, Dr. Schovanec.
Good morning, Dave.
Hey,
Good morning, Matt.
How about them Red Raiders? They snapped that losing streak with West Virginia. That was a big game.
That was very important for us.
You were there and saw it live, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
They looked good. They looked like they did with Baylor. Baylor right now is number 2 in the Big 12, and I guess officially they're number 1. I just don't see them beating Oklahoma.
Yeah, when you think about last-second losses that we've had at Baylor and at Kansas, instead of being 4 and 5, we could be 6 and 3.
Yeah. And y'all still. I guess I was kind of getting down, thinking, man, there's no way they're going to make a bowl game, but they actually have a way that they can make a bowl game at this point.
I'm counting on it.
Yeah, they only have to win 2 out of 3, and the opponents that they have, they have the talent to beat the opponents they have.
And you see things coming together. I think it's really important that we have a great turnout for that team the next 2 games, and then when we go down to Austin, we've won our last 2 games in Austin. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be really cool if we could finish at 7-5? No, I shouldn't be saying stuff like that.
That would be great.
That was very important for the team. It was important for everybody who cares about Tech in light of all the other things going on, and so I was very happy about that.
Yeah.
And the basketball team started great.
Yeah. I actually, I hope Chris Beard doesn't find out about this, but I missed the first game because I went over to Hobbs where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was giving a lecture.
Yeah.
As part of the Medics Foundation series they have there. And while I was at that event, a parent of a Texas Tech student came up to me and said that he was getting text messages from his son that there were 3,000 students in front of him waiting to get into the supermarkets arena. What could I do about it? Not much.
Good luck.
I was going to say he probably didn't miss you too much because they were packed on both of their games so far. They've been absolutely packed.
And I see look what they've already rebuilt so quickly. Of course, it's a long season. He would say that, but. With the signing they had yesterday, my son, who goes to school in St. Louis at Washington University, sent me a text. And I didn't exactly know what he meant, but it was a ranking, and Tech was number 5 in the nation. Mm-hmm. And he goes, "This is nuts." And think about that, what Coach Beard has achieved in terms of the talent he's bringing in. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did want to bring this up. I know you want to talk about Veterans Day, but we did a story yesterday that got a lot of feedback from our audience, and I'm looking for it, and I cannot remember the name of the university that decided that they were going to have their Veterans Day while having their Veterans Day program there at the university. They decided that they would not have the 21-gun salute because it would frighten perhaps the students. And I just wanted to ask you, would you cancel a 21-gun salute at Texas Tech because you were afraid that it would upset the students?
Well, Dave, I'm going to edit what I told you off the air. I had an answer for that. That is so inconsistent with the values and the culture of Texas Tech, but I also think it's inconsistent with the way this country celebrates Veterans Day. When I was flying back from San Diego, and I mentioned this, it made me feel so good that every time we got on a plane, they would acknowledge the veterans on that plane. The country, I thought how different that is from the Vietnam era.
Yeah.
In the way we celebrate
no doubt.
and appreciate our veterans. And in fact, last week, the Military Times came out with their new rankings. Best for vets, and Texas Tech was 54th. You see a lot of schools in Texas that rank highly. They only rank 134 schools in the country. Angelo State is number 6th in the nation. That's part of the Texas Tech system.
Wow.
We were second in the Big 12. That we always look at things like that. And then on Veterans Day, there's another ranking that we pay attention to. It's called College Factual, and we were in the top 100, and they ranked about 2,500 schools. Those are things we're very proud of, and more than the ranking, it's the services that are provided through our military veterans program that really matters in terms of special advice as it relates to the courses they take, financial aid. sometimes veterans bring special issues to campus, and we have special services for them, as we do for many students now, because issues that relate to mental health and behavior are a big issue on campuses.
So, I don't want to call anybody out, but it was University of Virginia.
There you go.
Isn't that? But no, that will never happen. Well, we don't have a 21-gun salute, but we had it.
Maybe you should have one.
Well,
next year.
They had a ceremony on Memorial Circle, and I was in San Diego. One student did write to me though and said, "How can we even have class?" And so we actually have taken up that conversation about whether or not we should set that as one of the holidays that we don't have class.
Yes. Well, and let me say, I know when I'm working with the honor flight, we made contact with your ROTC. Boy, you have a great program out there. They were so good to help us with honor flight.
The ROTC programs are important on campus, and in fact, I thought it was really nice at the meeting in San Diego. The opening keynote address was given by Dick Myers, who was a 4-star general, who is now the president at Kansas State. And he spoke to the importance of ROTC on campuses in terms of preparing so many officers for this country. And I thought that was also really nice, that at the major meeting of the Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities, they chose to have Dick Myers give the opening keynote address.
Yeah. Fantastic. I'll tell you what, let's take a break about a minute early. We'll come back, and I know we've got to talk about a big gift for Texas Tech. Dave and Matt in the morning will continue with Dr. Schovanec. If you have questions, our text lines are open, 806-680-2790. Love to hear from you. And we're back here on KFYO Mornings with Matt and Dave. And again, in the studio live with us this morning is Dr. Schovanec from Texas Tech University, the tech president, of course. And glad to have you here. You're telling us that Texas Tech is going to receive a large gift, I think.
Well, it's a facility in Midland that this has been in the works now for at least 18 months. Exxonmobil is gifting to Texas Tech a building they have there that has a large collection of logs, well logs, and we're taking that and it's going to be used as a resource for educational programs and also research. So we're going down next week to have an event acknowledging that gift. At the same time, we'll be down there to sign another memorandum of understanding with Midland Community College. And I think it's really important for Texas Tech to move to capitalize on our relationship and proximity to the oil and gas industry. This is something, we're probably better known for our work in wind than we are in oil and gas. And so that's something we're trying to address. Recently, the board approved us going forward to offer a new interdisciplinary master's program that relates to energy. It's going to be kind of like an executive master's program, similar to an MBA type program. It's going to be for mid-level people in the energy industry who need to come back and add to their skill set. There'll be cohorts. The first cohort will be down in the Midland, Odessa area, and then we'll have one in Houston. So these are things we're doing that will strengthen our connection to an industry that's so important to this part of the state and to the country.
Yeah. So I think these are the right words. One of the things that you brought up are some of the problems at Texas Tech. And I think if you look at Texas Tech as a community...
excuse me, man. Problems at Tech? What are you talking about?
Yeah, we're going to get there.
First I've heard of it.
You can look at Texas Tech, and it's kind of like it's its own community of younger students a lot of times. And so you can look at this younger generation, look at Texas Tech, see the problems that they have, and see what is kind of going around the United States. And what I'm bringing up is mental health has been an issue on the Texas Tech campus and even in the United States now. So can you kind of tell us kind of what you just said you had been visiting with some people, what you've learned?
Yeah, Matt, I wouldn't have made that flippant comment if I knew that you were going to get to that point.
That's fine. I'm not.
Because that is a terribly serious issue. We're working with TTU HSC and Chancellor Mitchell about 2 years ago, And at the prompting of one of our regents, Ron Hammonds, and the support of others, we created the new Institute for Mental Health. And one of the first things we did is we took an inventory of all the resources we have and an assessment of, because we know the issues are terribly important. When we were in San Diego at the APLU meeting, and I would say, what were the two big topics that came up in so many of the talks, presentations? Cost and debt and mental health. It's an epidemic issue across campuses. And we were talking about our services in our military veterans program. It's a big issue among that population.
And to be honest, there's a lot of people talking about debt, school debt, but there's just not a lot of people talking about the mental health issues that are going on campus.
Well, Matt, it's becoming a more visible, prominent issue. On campuses, it's a big issue. I'm getting ready for the State of the University address next week, and to do that for the last month or so, I've been visiting, dropping in on classes, going to all of the offices on campus. So last week I went to our Mental Health and Wellness Center. It's a wonderful facility, and I visited with people in that facility, and they will tell you that they are having a very difficult time keeping up with all the need of students who come in with problems that relate to mental behavior and mental health. A lot of it's depression, but there's as we all know, the opioid crisis in the country is a big problem, and drug use in general. Many of it's prescription drugs, and so this is part of what's being addressed through the Texas Tech Mental Health Institute. We need more resources. It's something we're looking at. You might recall that last week down at the Civic Center, they had the Addiction and Recovery Awareness Symposium. Randy Christensen was very involved in putting that together. I went down there.
He was on the show, and we talked about that.
Right. He should be commended for what he did in helping. But the mayor was there. There was an incredible outpouring of entities from around the community that were there, and that just kind of speaks to what a big issue it is. I mentioned to you that I was at Yale last year for a symposium, and one of the speakers was the author of a book, Coddling of the American Mind, and he wrote about the terrible statistics as they relate to suicide among the Gen Z population, and trying to come to grips with what has caused this. And there are many, many issues, and I'm not expert enough to get into that. But certainly social development that's been inhibited by the presence of social media and technology is a factor, as well as drug use.
Yeah, they don't know how to communicate face-to-face. They've got to do it all online. And
I think it also gives you a skewed reality. The social
right, because
media.
people don't tell you the bad things online.
Right, it's all look where I'm vacationing here, or and you think, gosh, I don't have near the life that person has.
Well, David, it goes back to the point you raised earlier about on that campus, they did not want to have firing of the 21-gun salute because it might make students uncomfortable. I'm not making a direct connection in all of these things, but that's part of the issue. I think young people have to understand that in life there are lots of difficult discussions and difficult issues they have to confront.
And shouldn't they be doing that in college?
Yes.
More than they're doing now.
And so I'm not trying to be insensitive, but we have to understand that I mentioned to you one of the premises of this book was the belief that what doesn't kill you makes you weaker. That's not the way we were raised. But the author is contending that this is kind of part of the culture today, and also the belief that trust your feelings. We have to realize that not everything is as we first perceive them. And so I think there's a lot of issues there that relate to how students grow up today, and we have to make sure that we have an environment where they can engage in difficult discussions with people that don't necessarily agree with their point of view.
Right, which is some of the things that we were talking about but they have a hard time with confrontation. You said, and so everything's either evil or good. There's not a lot of being willing to understand what they see as evil.
Yeah, many things. We see this in not just that generation,
Right.
but across this country.
I mean, the political spectrum right now has become so extreme.
Right. It's become a discussion between the saved and the damned, and you're in one of the other groups.
Yeah.
One of the presidents at the meeting in San Diego raised a point in a discussion about mental health. Is this a recent phenomena, or is it just that we're more aware? And I think that's part of it. The services we provide to students now are so much greater than we did in the past, and so there might be the fact that we're just more cognizant of the problem, but I think the problem is greater.
I want to get this Texter's question in. He says, why can't Uber and Lyft drivers enter the Texas Tech campus from 8 to 5 on weekends? It's an inconvenience and a disservice to students, faculty, staff, and visitors to have to walk from gates, especially on bad weather days.
Well, I think that person has written in before. that point has come up. And I wish I went back and visited with the person in charge of that. We have so much traffic on campus. We have to control that. But also there's issues of security that are.
Yeah.
I tell you what, when I come back next time, I'll give a more succinct and
Okay.
substantive answer.
Good
So
deal.
I apologize to that person for not having a better answer now, but
Okay.
there's reasons.
I got you, and we are out of time. So always so glad to have you out. You always impart some good information on us.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah,
Stay
things are
warm.
going great at Texas Tech, I think.
Well, thank you.